This conference will now be recorded.
So guys, whenever you talk about any programming language, the execution begins from the main function, right? And so is Dart, right? But of course, there are languages which can support us the executions without writing the main function. Okay, for example, Python. Python, if you skip the main function, everything is treated to be a part of main function, but it doesn't mean that the language won't have the main function. So main is the one from where your execution begins, and that is also a thumb rule for your Flutter applications. Okay, so remember the yesterday's fundamental. So what we're gonna learn today is what are storage containers, how and why we use them, we create them, and what can be their necessity, what are different ways that you should be, working with your storage containers, right? So let's begin with the part of introduction to storage containers. If you want, you can practice the same stuff along with me. So I'm going to share this link over the chat, dartpad.dev. You need not to install Dart on your systems because we are not going to do much of the extensive operations. So these operations are quite simple and doable on the Dartpad. Okay, so that is why I'm using the online code editor rather than getting anything installed, because we'll be writing our apps in Flutter. So in Android Studio, the plugin is already installed. So storage containers. So why we need storage containers? The real answer is to save data. So I would like to just show you one of the project structures. So I'm actually doing this, small application development program already with one of my batches in Flutter itself. So we recently started writing this food delivery app. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a database structure, here, which is for the food delivery app. And what you see is these are some of the collections available. So just ignore what are collections, etc., etc. But what you need to understand is this storage container here called user. Now, user has some data associated to him or her, right? So there is a name, there is a phone, there is an email, and there is a gender associated, right? And of course, this is a single value container. So email means one single value. Gender means one single value, either male or female, right? So name means one single value. We can have one value of name, either John or Jenny or Jack or Joe, right? Same one phone number. But if you see above part here, I created a list of addresses. So a user can have multiple addresses, right? So for the zeroth address in the array, I have these attributes and these values, so on and so forth. So storage containers are the one which are meant to hold data. And this data in the program is temporary. That is the reason you need database to store the data permanently. So introduction to storage containers in Dart is where we need to understand storage containers will hold data for us in program. For example, getting the name read from the text field which is entered by user and storing it. So we are going to kind of storing it in some container. We also say that this container is a variable, right? So Dart gives you a very powerful structure here. Let's say you wanna create a name. So there is a basic Java syntax to do it. You can write the string and say name is John. Okay, so this is going to work for me. The other way around is that you can even create this name in single quotes. So Dart will not support characters here for us, right? So single quote or double quotes, it's gonna work in both the ways for us. Okay. So remember, this is how the storage container can be created. So name is a storage container, and it's gonna point to data called John. Now I can even say an integer called age, which is the number 20. So there may be something known as float, right? And if I go and I can see double, so this is not supported, right? So I have only one single data type called float. We don't mix and do a lot of things in Dart, right? So it's easier for us. So float maybe Texas, the value is 0.18. So what we can do is we can create the variables, and we can use them the way we want, but that gives me a relaxed way to create them. You need not to mention the data types. You need not to worry with the data types here for us. I can simply say, let the name be John. So I used something known as var. So var stands for variable, and the data type will automatically be taken care. Data type is automatically taken care of. Okay. Then I can even say that the var age is 20, and thereafter I can say var text is 0.1. So it is not that complicated to create a container in your program, and we can very easily understand what exactly it is. But remember, Dart creates these variables as reference variables and the data as objects. So what I'm saying is, name, age, maybe the variable texts are known as reference variables. They point to the data in the memory. So data is stored using algorithm called hashing in data structure hash table. So let me show you what is meant by the algorithm hashing, and what is meant by the data structure hash table. Okay. So for this, I just need to use my paint. Now this remains quite similar in all the programming languages. Okay. So guys, what we have is we have a hash table. So hash table is a data structure which is divided into some buckets. Buckets, they are nothing but they are the regions. Okay, so these are the buckets. There can be many buckets available to us, right? So these buckets, they are indexed. So for example, this is bucket number 12 and this is bucket number 0. It means for my hash table, the size or I can say the capacity is 13. So there is this capacity called 13, that is 13 buckets. So there are 13 memory sections available in my hash table. Okay, so 0 to 12. Now there is small mathematic which you need to know. So there is a hash function. What it will do is it will take the input as number, and it's gonna give you back a hash code that is typically the number divided by the capacity, and it's the remainder which you get back. Now for example, I want to store a number called 20. So what's going to happen is that a hash code will be evaluated which is 20 mod 13, and this is going to give you the value as 7. So 7 becomes the hash code. Okay, it means what? That in the 7th bucket you insert the data 7. So let's come here and try to take more example. If you want to store data called let's say 13, so what will be the value? So you'll say 13 mod 13, and the value which you'll get is 0. So it means 13 has to be stored on the 0th index. Same way, if I'll say 26, So 26 is also divisible by 13, and you have to again store it on 0th index. Could be a case you will say I want the hash for let's say number 8. Now when I will divide the number 8 by 13, right? So you say 8 mod 13, you will get the remainder as 8 only, because 13 zeros are 13. You won't be able to get any division, right? So this is what the hashing is, right? So this is what you need to understand, the term associated to this guy called hash table, right? And now how the data is going to be stored. So if you want to store 20, so add some index number 7, right? So some 7th bucket here, some, let's say some 7th bucket here, will store this data 20. So the data 20 will be stored in your 7th bucket. Okay, so something like this. So somewhere in the bucket, right? Somewhere in this 7th bucket, this data 20 will be stored. Generally, it's a linked list further. The data structure works in that way. Now, for example, this number 26 and number 13. So first of all, this 13 will be stored, and then we'll get the next number 26, which will be stored. So 13 and then the 26, right? So guys, this is how you need to understand the concept of hashing. So how the data is stored in the memory, it's basically through the hashing. So if you create a variable which is very simple to understand, that var age as 20. So what is happening in the memory, in the background, this 20 will be stored in some bucket number 7. But I am taking a use case or an example with the capacity as 13 only. So in the memory, capacity won't be 13, it would be huge, right? So you can store a lot of numbers, a lot of data. So hash table size is gonna be very huge for you. Now, what is the next thing which you need to understand here, right? So containers, when I talk about the storage containers, so this guy age, name, and the texts, right? So they are reference variables. They will hold the hash code of the data, right? So hashing is not just getting the remainders. There are different hash algorithms, and there are different ways of the hashing happens with the hash tables. Okay, so there are more complex algorithms, but this is just one small introduction. So age is a reference variable which holds the hash code where 20 is stored, right? So 20 would be stored in some bucket having the index. That index is what? That index is the hash code. So let me come here and say how John is going to be computed against hash code. So we do have something known as ASCII table to understand this concept. So every string will have one, a decimal number. For example, J is 74, and a lowercase o is 111. Then a lowercase h is 104, and lowercase n is 110. So we'll add all of them. So we'll add this 74 plus 111 plus 110 plus 104. You get a number and you divide by 13 and you get the remainder, right? So generally for a string hashing environment here, so if I need to hash my strings, simply add up the ASCII data, right? And that's it. You are done with it. So one exploratory for you people, how floating points are hashed. Okay, so that you explore. So let us print these variables. So I'll print name, then the age, and lastly the texts. Okay, so 3 variables you created. Remember, they are reference variables. They are not the kind of containers which contain the data directly. So they hold some hash code. Okay, you need to understand this. So I'll put across some other way of printing the data. So we don't have system.out.println. It's very simple for us to understand. I can say name is, put a dollar and simply print the name in between. Then age is dollar age, and finally we can say Texas are Texas. So this expression is not required. You can directly use the variable names, right? So you can simply use a dollar and the name of the variable within your print statements. Okay, it's gonna work for you, right? So this is the other way you print the data. Now, if you want to see what are their data types and what are their hash codes, okay, so we were talking about hashing. So every reference variable, so that says by default anything you are going to create for us here is where the data type will be taken care automatically. So you see var name is John, data type will be taken care automatically. You need not to mention string. That's a relaxation at your end. But if I want to see what is the data type of name, right? So I'll say simply I'll come here and print name dot runtime type. This is the data type, and I can even see what is the hash code. Okay, so let's say dot hash code. So these are the two variables which you can print along with your references. So Texas.runtime type, Texas.hashcode, age.runtime type, and age.hashcode. It means we have no concept like primitives in Dart. So primitives were the variables in Java which directly hold the value, but here in case of our Dart language, we have nothing like primitives. It's all references. So let's see the data output coming up here for us. So name is John, the runtime type is string, and this is a hash code, a big number. It means we have a great hash table available, right? Hash code available. So age is 20, the data type is integer. Since I told, right, that if you say 8 mod 13, you get the remainder as 8 because we cannot divide 8, right? So this is the problem. That is how for 20 you are getting the hash code as 20 itself. Then the text is coming as double, right? So guys, my bad. So you need to just rectify. So we don't have floats, rather we have doubles here. Okay, so only one type called double here. Please rectify that part here. So guys, can I get a smiley from all of you? We are good to go in understanding what are variables. So in Dart, so I'm just gonna say, please see in Dart, every variable is a reference variable holding the hash code to the data. Okay, very important point, right? Because you should of course know what is application development, but this comes as more clarity, in-depth clarity along with the application development, that you know programming language, right? Now there is a small problem here. You specify the data type of the name. This is like a Jenny, right? So let's say this is I'll just come here and say, yeah, I'll take another name one. Okay, so some name one is Jenny, and you cannot say that name one will now become a number, right? So let's try to run this program and see what happens. It gives us an error. It says a value of type integer cannot be assigned to a variable of type string. It's not possible. Let us try to make it as var or variable, right? So you run the program, you still get an error. It says you didn't specify the data type. That's okay. I'll take care of the data type on your behalf. I'll make the name one as string, but it doesn't mean that you put the value as 10, right? So if I'll print the name1 here, for example, name1 is $name1, and here after I say name1 now is $name1, it's not the use case that this line is going to be executed. It's gonna be an error for us. And do you see one error message coming here? So let me show you the error message once again. Error compiling to JavaScript. So what does it mean? Dart as programming language will be compiled into JavaScript. So you write a dot file. So this file is basically a dot file. It's an extension called dot file, and eventually this guy will get converted to the JavaScript. Okay. So when this code gets converted to the JavaScript, it's an optimized version of the JavaScript which gets executed in a very great manner, right? So that is one more benefit of having Dart as a language for the Flutter. So compilation yields optimized JavaScript, which takes very little time to execute. Now, what is my next discussion here? So if we have understood this small part, right? So you need to understand this is going to be an error. I am going to replace this var data type with something known as dynamic. So writing the keyword dynamic in Dart means runtime polymorphism, RTP, runtime polymorphism. So what does it mean? It means that dynamic over here, or name1 reference variable says I am a generic reference variable. I can point to any data type. I can hold the hash code of any data type, right? So as per what the data will be there, I'll change my data type, right? So the kind of a girgit, huh? So we'll say name1 dot runtime type. Okay, and here also we'll say name1 dot runtime type. So let us now run the program and understand the concept of dynamic keyword in Dart. And it is used quite heavily when we are writing our Dart programs, when we are writing our application development, because when I want to store the data in my database, coming here, if you see, if I want to store data in my database, something is number, something is string, right? If you see here the difference, and something is an array. So we don't know what data type would be there in the database when you are either writing or reading. So you can always rely on dynamic keyword, because it will automatically manipulate and modify the data type of the variable as per the data which is there in it, or the hash code to which it is pointing. So guys, can I get a smiley once again from all of you? I hope it's not a problem. It's easier and quite interesting as compared to other languages, right? So if you know JavaScript, you would have enjoyed it more. But in case you know Java, you can still get a feel that okay, it's quite nearly same. Less of CISO, less of string bracket args, if you see, right? So you know Java, you know Dart. This is what I say. Okay, so you know Java, you know Dart. So let us try to create some more variables and see how we can express them. Okay, so I'll say variable called pi, which is 3.14159, right? So let me print pi dot runtime type, and let me also come here and okay, I'll create one other variable. Let's say this variable is an exponential variable, and this guy goes like 1.5 and then e2, right? So I created this variable 1.5 e2, the exponential, right? So let's say print this variable, and I'll even print the runtime type for this guy. So we can even, if you want, you can read the variable pi. So let's run this code. So I think this is very much equivalent to what we have done here with the Texas, but just small representation once again. So this 3.14 over here is coming as double, but what you see with your exponential part, when I said 1.5 e2, typically it is 1.5 multiplied by 10 power 2, correct? So that's what we have learned in our childhood days, exponential part and the mantissa part, right? So 1.5 multiplied by 10 power 2. So your exponentials, they are stored as integers. Now we even have some hexadecimal numbers which can be stored. Let's say var hex number. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll open up one platform here, decimal to hexadecimal. So we got this website called rapidtables.com. So I'm going to give a small reference linking here. So I'm going to give you a small reference linking here. Just give me a moment. So if you would like to explore the part of it, you can do so. Okay. So find a decimal number. So I have a decimal number called 15802. I'll say convert it to the hexadecimal number, right? So I'll use this hexadecimal number 3dba and let us represent it in dot. So in order to represent it, you need to say 0x 3bda, right? So we'll say print down this hex number, and I will even say print hex numbers dot runtime type. Let's run this program. 15802. You see this number 15802, and what we got as in its data type as hex, but even if you store the number as hexadecimal, you get to have it in the form of integers only, guys. I hope this is clear, right, to everyone. So you can represent hexadecimal data, you can represent exponential data in it. So it's an integer which is going to do a lot of stuff for you. So 0x is for hexadecimal. So same way we have 0b for binary, and we have 0o for octal. So explore binary and octal representations. So let me share this code till now to all of you over the chat, right? And what I'll do is I'll just come here and save this program. Let me save this program as dot hyphen session hyphen one dot. I'll save it in my downloads directory. So this is the dot file, and what I can do is precisely I can open this dot file. I don't know if I have the plugin installed with my VS Code editor, if it can read it or not, but let me check it. So I don't have the plugin installed for it. That is the reason this guy is just not showing me the stuff. But let me check. Just give me a moment. I'll just install it. So this is Visual Studio Code Editor by the Microsoft, and if you want, you can even use it. So this is the other part of your, you can say, IDE, right? So this is another IDE which you can use. Just give me a moment. I'll just open up a new window and use it there. So here you are, right? So guys, this is how you can use your Dart in the IDEs. You can download the Visual Studio Code Editor, and at the same time, Visual Studio Code Editor also supports Flutter. If you want, you can install the extensions in your Visual Studio Code Editor IDE as well. Okay. So the session one, right? This is my session 1A typically. Okay, so I'll just close this session 1A. We'll create more files and we'll keep on saving them. So we'll now see the next part. Let me just clear this program from, and yes, over you guys, I'm just gonna share it over the chat. I think I shared it. Yes, I shared it. Void main. So we know how we can create the variables, right? So we see more about, now we'll see more about variables. The data type in Dart, right, is always as per the value which you assign. So it means if I create a variable 10 and I say the value 10 in strings, correct? So I'm storing the number 10 in string. It very easily it is very easy to understand that the runtime type of your variable 10 is going to be integer. My bad, semicolon missing. So here you are with the type as string. Now this generally happens in case we are fetching data from UI or wish to display data on UI. It must be string. So you need to always understand this important aspect. If you are reading the data from the UI into your program, so when I say UI, it means a rectangular screen in which you can punch some data, right? For example, a form. So it is always a string, and in order to show it must be string. So if you are doing any exchange of data on the UI, it must be string. So any exchange of data on UI is string. That's a general rule which is followed across the industry. It is automatically done from the framework level. So imagine user has entered the number 10, but that will be string type when you read it from the UI. So what you can do is you can convert it to the another type. I can say var real 10 is integer dot parse. Now what you see is with the data type you are able to execute this parse function. So this int is not just the data type. Okay, so this is a class integer which extends number. It means in Dart, when you are using any data type, it is basically representing a built-in class. So it's all references. There is nothing primitive, as I said before, guys, right? There is nothing primitive. Everything is referencing. So you pass this variable string in this guy. Now this is very much simple to your integer.parseInt in Java, if you can recall. So we can say print the real 10, and I'll even say the runtime type. So typically, guys, I have a very bad habit of not putting the semicolons due to much into Python sometimes, right? So I'll skip it, and it's like two batches in the morning which I do for Python, so it keeps on continuing somehow. Okay. Okay, so I've just given a command to run, so let's just wait for the output to come. So 10 was string initially, 10 is now integer. Okay, and if you want to convert anything, any variable to string, right? So let's say var str10 is your real 10 dot to string. So convert anything as the string representation with the help of a toString function. So once again, This is the same story which Java gives you to convert any structure back to the string. And one more thing, which in case of storage containers, you would definitely love more to use is your, for example, we'll take, okay. So there is a variable pi with the value 3.14 159. So we know it is by default double, right? So data type will be taken care automatically. So I'm gonna say a string called pi again. This is going to be pi dot to string as fixed up to 2 decimals, right? Now let me, okay, so I'll take this as variable only. So let us print both variable and, sorry, pi and pi again. Run the program. So there could be a case that you would like to work in your program, and the storage containers with which you are working, so they are by default the built-in classes. They are reference variables and the objects in the memory typically stored with the hashing principle and the algorithm. And this is how, guys, you can just manipulate the data in case you wish to do so. So Dart has very basic data type structure organization. So the data types in Dart, we got numbered, they are int and double. It's very easy, right? So that is simple. Then we got textual, this is string. Then we got logical, that is bool as in boolean, right? So either true or false. Now if I have to certainly represent some structure, so let me come here and try to put it across. So this int and double is clear, right? And bool is very basic. I'll just demonstrate it. So I'll take another program. Okay, so I'll take another program for this. Let me save this program. So just give me a moment. I'll save this another program as 1b.dart. Okay, so now let's come back. So data types are majorly numbered, which are int and double, that we have already seen, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about textual and the logical ones. Okay, so let's say that there is a name, and this name is John's Coffee Shop. There is some a cafe name which is John's Coffee Shop. So strings can be very much easily maintained in single quotes, but there's a small problem here. If I need to put a apostrophe s, then I'm done with it, right? This is a problem. So you need to escape it, right? Then it becomes the proper name, right? But the better approach is that you, if you have the post office coming into your names, you can directly use it like this: John's Coffee Shop. So this is the perfect way that how you should be writing a string in the double quotes. Okay, and let's I think this is clear, right? So printing would not be required, but even though I can just give a small build. So here you are with the John's Coffee Shop, guys, right, as an output. So string or variable, it won't be a problem. You can use either var or string. So if you use var, you always as a developer need to remember var, right? So you forget others will be taken care automatically. For example, I'll say a var called code. So I'll say work hard, get luckier. Correct. This is one of the strings which I have done. I'll come here and I'll move in the next line. I'll move in the next line and I'll try to write another code called be exceptional. I'll come in the another line. I'll use some double quote here and say be consistent and use one plus operator to concatenate the strings and value time. Put a semicolon in the end, right here. So what exactly is this and what it's gonna give me in the output, right? Let's see by printing the variable code. So if you want, you can create a string in this manner. So you can write your strings in the multi lines, but that itself is a one complete string. If you are trying to write a string, if you're trying to write a string in multiple lines, it does not mean that it will come in the multiple lines as well. So there can be a case that you can write a message which can be in triple quotes. So this is a Python syntax. So this goes like your message now. Okay. So this is like this is John. I am here to tell that we will go to a restaurant tonight. And thank you. So when you will now print this message and run this program, so you see even the spaces here and there will be considered, right? So this space which comes up here in front, so that will be the part of data. So this becomes the part of data. So a multi-line string can be created if you want. A multi-line string can be created. So this string is a multi-line string. But this string over here is one-line string. Even if from a developer's perspective, it is a multi-line. Now I can even create strings which can be raw strings. So I can write raw strings. So this is a string called line, which goes something like, this is a good day. See ya now, tomorrow. So this goes like with a backslash n. Okay, I'll put a backslash n in the end and then I'll say print me the line. So you run the program. So you'll find that this is a good day and see ya now tomorrow. So this part of the string comes in the new line. Because of this escape sequence, a new line. So I can put R in the beginning. When I say R in the beginning, right? So that is known as a raw string. So begins with R and will take special characters as, for example, backslash n as data only. So there could be a case that you would like to, kind of do some search in your application, but due to backslash n, it may cause some problem. So you can consider backslash n as a part of your data as well. So can I get a smiley from all of you? Are we clear, guys? What is what here? The string data type. So this is a very basic introduction to string, but we haven't taken the string in a way that what are its various functions used here and there, right? So I'm not talking about that as well. Okay. So the last one for me is going to be a Boolean data type, right? So I'll say a bool and let's say is internet on. So you can mark it as true, and you can update the value is internet on as false. Correct? So I can just say print is internet on and just put a dollar and print the variable value. So you use these booleans majorly in your applications to perform some on-off settings. For example, the power on and power off is a boolean thing. For example, moving ahead, right? So you want to turn the phone to the silent mode, you want to turn the phone to the ringer mode, on or off, right? So if there is a third mode called vibration mode, so it means boolean won't fit in. Then you have to work in some integer value, which may be 1, 2, and 3. So can I get a smiley? Guys, we are good to go here. Now these data types which we have discussed here, so they are single value containers. So what does it mean? It means that they are going to contain only one single value. So if I say string, it's one single string, one single message. There are not multiple strings or multiple messages on the way. Okay. So let me save this program as well. File save as dot session one c dot dot. So let's have a small break, maybe 10 minutes break, and thereafter we'll see some more stuff, guys, right? So let's have a small break of 10 minutes. Thank you. So guys, I'm there. I'm back. I hope the voice is audible and the screen is visible. So before we went into the session, right, the break, so we did see what are these various variables, the data types, and now typically I'm going to focus on something known as multi-value containers. So they are meant to hold a lot of data, and Dart gives you the data structures to do so. Okay, so Dart is going to give you a very great data structures. So they are number one, list. So it's a dynamic list with indexing. It means you can add ample of data in the list, right? So it is like an array. It's like an array, but not of fixed size. It's a circular doubly linked list basically in the data structure layer. Then we got set. It's nothing. It's your list only, but without indexing. And you can say it is uniqueness. It follows uniqueness. So set follows uniqueness with hashing, and you can say no indexing. So generally this set is going to be a data structure based on hashing, and it's majorly a tree data structure, right? And we can't store duplicates in it. We can store duplicates in the list. The third one is a very important data structure called map. So this guy is a key value pair, right? So key value pair. Now everything over here is dynamic. So when I say everything here is dynamic, it means that we are not restricted to the sizes. So size can grow or shrink dynamically. That is, data can be added or removed. Okay, so this can be taken care. For example, your shopping cart is what is a dynamic list. It's a list here. The products added in the shopping cart, they can be removed, they can be added, quantities can be manipulated. So it's a kind of a list for us here. Okay, now that can help us to create all these data structures, and we can very easily manage them. But let's see some real-time use cases to that. So I'll open this website called makemytrip.com. So when you see this makemytrip.com coming here for us, so what do you find is that you have these a list of options. Even you have the more options coming here. So flights, hotels, villas, holidays, trains, buses, cabs, visas, gift cards, right? So this is a list basically, and how you create this as a list. So on your dot pad, we say var options, right? So you just need to put one square bracket, and if you want, you can mention the type that this is going to be string. The list is going to be of string. It means you can only store strings, right? So that is like type safety. And if you don't mention it, it means you can store anything. So I'll just start with nothing. For example, here we'll take this make my trip data, flight, hotels, holidays, trains. So flights, then hotels, holidays, trains. Okay, I think we have some query. So yes, Gurpreet, that is what, right? So if you don't mention this part here as string, so this is what I'm trying to show you now. Cabs, maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 2.2. So your options can contain any type of data, right? So this is known as heterogeneous collection, right? And if you want to make it as a homogeneous storage container, so what you can do is you can create your variable options of type string here. The moment you set type string, you won't be able to add this data other than the string. So we prefer list. We prefer list when we have to create a lot of data, right? So it is easy for us, and of course, maintaining the data is not that complicated. So let me print the options, and we'll even print the runtime type for the options. So we'll be exploring these data structures more, but this is just to make you guys initially understand what exactly it is. So the type comes as JS array. It means what? It means that this is a JavaScript array, right? So the list you have created here, it is basically a JS array, a JavaScript array. So for example, we have some product prices. So the type is going to be integer or maybe double, it depends, right? So if you skip it, it means it's heterogeneous. It can store any type of data. It won't consider that everything is going to be integer. Now I can write where another prices, which goes like 50 comma, let's say triple dot, and then mention this product prices. So this is known as a spread operator, triple dot. Okay, the spread operator. And we're gonna copy everything from our product prices into another prices. We'll say print as another prices. Okay, so let's run the program. So list will be copied. So you just say triple dot and the product prices, you will be able to copy the entire elements of one list into the another list, right? So if you want, you can even execute this attribute called length, which will give you the length of the string. Guys, this is just an introductory part, okay? So don't get confused that we are creating these set of, you can say, storage containers to understand very introductory part of the variables in Dart. Let's say var roll numbers. So this is the list 101, 201, 301, 401. Maybe user has repeated few roll numbers, right? So these roll numbers, they are repeated for us. So if I'll say print me roll numbers, so this guy is going to give me repeated data in the output, right? So we can create roll numbers rather than a list. We prefer it to be a set. So even if you add something duplicated, if you duplicate the data, right, it won't include it, right? So if you see the output, right, the duplicate data is now not there in the set. So why you need to use set? So sets are for unique data. So whenever you feel like that your data structure should be unique, you should not come up with list, you should prefer set. But set will not support indexing. What I'm trying to say is here you can access 0 element, 1 element, 2 element. That we'll see when we'll jump into the loops, and we'll see how it can be done. So last one I'm just going to put across is something known as a map. So in the employee here, it's a key value pair, right? So we got John, let's say the name as John. Then there is an email for the John. We can see John at example.com, comma. So it's a key and a value, right? So the keys are majorly, taken care as strings, but you can use any data type. So this is what is a map, and let's print this employee as multi-value container. So three important multi-value containers. We got list, set, and map. Map stores the data as key value pairs. And if you see the example here in the database is, right, so you see the data as key value pair, and even if you come here, so from is the key, Delhi is the value, to is the key, Delhi is the value, departure is the key, 22nd July 20 is the value, right? So majorly across your applications, what you will be expecting is key value pairs, and that's like the map data structure. So this is what we got for the day, and I am just going to come here and save this last part of your program. So we are open for queries in case you guys would have. So please put it across, guys. Anyone with any queries now, right? So we are open for queries. This would be all, guys, for the day.